out there, what they've done to mitigate the erosion that's out there. So you can go up to 400 feet in the air. To get an overview, you can get right down to the rider level, which can help with promotion. And the main thing we're going to be doing as we go out for education efforts in the future, we're already going to spend this year gathering these. We're recreational flyers of this aircraft. So we'll be gathering static pictures like it takes right there. And we'll be using this as part of our educational efforts in the future.
What's the range of this aircraft?
It can, you can fly them up to like a mile away. Typically, you want to stay within point of view. But as we showed in that last couple slides ago, through a GPS program, you can actually fly what's called BVR, beyond visual recognition or whatever, and it will send it out. You can lose sight of it, but it can go pretty far. I mean, it's, yeah.
Okay, we can get the lights back. All right. Okay. Does anybody on the commission have any questions before I?
Jim Richardson, Commission. I have
ahead, sir.
several questions. Latest technology, give you that. But I have a couple questions as far as the technology itself. What's your association with the technology? Are you a representative of the manufacturer of the RPV, or
No.
you're just a guy that went out and
Just
bought
a-
it,
just a
said this
guy.
is a great idea, this is what I want to do?
Yep.
Cool. And then, are there any fees associated? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, David Durst, for the record, he keeps telling me to
Okay,
identify myself.
I do that myself. I'm new. Are there any fees associated? Because this is going to be long-term. You're going to be doing this for a while.
Yep.
As soon as the FAA realizes what they're getting into for airspace, anything on the horizon for any kind of fees associated with using the airspace?
Eric Spratley for the record. The FAA has guideline AC 91-57.
AC?
AC 91-57. It's from 1981, and it spells out what model aircraft and the like, smaller recreational aircraft, can fly under. Their most current FAQs on the FAA website point back to this, has a link to this regulation, and it just says you have to fly below 400 feet, not in populated areas, not in proximity of full-scale aircraft, not creating a lot of noise, those kinds of things. It's very generic and broad in scope.
400 feet ASL or where? Or sea level?
Above ground level.
Good.
And so that's what these small aircrafts for recreational use are for, fall under.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I've got some logistic questions here. Since this thing is so small, why do you need a trailer, and why would you want us to pay for the trailer?
Well, it is to get other equipment there, motorcycles, ATVs, or whatever. So envision, you got to go map a trail. That's
I understand, but you already have the vehicles, and you already have a way to get the vehicles to somewhere, right?
well, I have a vehicle that could pull a trailer. I don't have a trailer,
Okay.
but the goal would be to take at least 2, possibly 3 motorcycles, ATVs, along with all the other equipment, and get to
No problem.
a location.
And I'm moving along. I'm from that part of England where we talk fast.
That's all right.
The other thing is, you have 22,500 for personnel. Is that for salaries?
That's for the video, the time for video capture, edit, produce, and put
Now,
out.
when you're saying video capture, you mean the person out there?
Person
doing it?
out there, the pilot flying,
Right.
and then video editing, which is
You know,
me.
given, and I'll just sort of, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Given where we are, we're in the very beginnings, and we're tight. We don't have a lot of money, and the idea of paying somebody a salary to do something that volunteers will do at this stage isn't the best one. So, I mean, if we were to say, hey, listen, we're going to fund this, we think it's a great idea, would we be able to get volunteer work done to replace most of the salaries?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
In
if
other
you
words,
could get-
are you going to go out there anyway and have fun and do it as a volunteer?
Eric Spratly, for the record, I'm going to answer that in part. We will be out there riding and flying and capturing video footage. As you said, we're going to come before this commission next year, next grant cycle, and look for education funding.
Okay.
And so we will be out there. The problem is that video editing is a very costly
I know.
issue, and so it could be scalable in the fact that you could maybe piecemeal it rather than give a lump sum and get and expect X amount. You could say, we want you to go to this specific place because they're doing great things here. We want before and after. What will that cost us? And maybe, I don't know if the grant would allow that sort of flexibility or not.
As I've said earlier, we can do whatever we want, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay, now when you're doing this, will you, I'm assuming you'll be able to produce still photographs?
Yes.
Would we be able to, and this is for the purposes of BLM, because as we heard before, BLM is going to close a bunch of stuff. We want to map trails that aren't already mapped, and sometimes they're tough to access. And this sounds like a technology that would be able to access them. So would you be able to produce a map from these photographs?
I don't know if an actual, I don't know that, sir.
Some kind of trail map that BLM would be able to use. Actually, you may be able to answer that question. Would you dash up here and give us your name, rank, and serial number? I know, I'm getting punchy at the end of the day.
Dan Westermeyer with the BLM Carson City District. I don't think the aerial photography is going to be geo-referenced, which is what would be ideally what we would need. But what they can do is fly a trail, and especially then if they ride it with their bike, they can use a GPS on the bike, and then we can then coordinate the photographs or the videography with the GPS from riding their bike. That would be a fairly simple thing that they would be able to do with something like this. And it is something in our outreach we've suggested to people if they can do something. This would just be using aerial versus being strapped to their helmet or something like that. And it would help us document that those trails do exist during our route inventory process. So yes, it would be helpful from that perspective.
So Eric, the question comes back to you. Can you, when you take the photograph, can it use a GPS marker on the photograph?
Yes,
I know
we
the
can do that.
technology is available.
And you saw that before the actual waypoint marking. You can set it up and say, we're going to go to fly to here and use
All right,
GPS
so we would be able to,
waypoint marking.
which would help Dan and
Yes.
be able to, all right.
Yes.
Good, because that is one of our major concerns. I mean, it truly is. Volunteers need for trail alert, So, will you guys be available tomorrow if we start looking at this and start whittling it down a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Eric, always good to see you.
One
Good to
quick
see
one.
you.
This is Commissioner Cox.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Cox, please go ahead.
I did not see in their grant application packet a supporting letter from a land manager, which is something we required. Can you attain one by morning?
Eric Spratly, for the record, I'm just not sure what, I guess we didn't understand what that was, given the scope that we were looking at. We weren't doing
Well,
anything in anybody's land. We're up in the air.
Could you get something from BLM saying they're allowing you to do it?
Yes.
He's laughing. I don't know. Well, guys, one at a time. Mr. Richardson, your comment was?
The question I would have is, why would you need to have the BLM?
Because
What would the requirement be?
They stated that the range was a mile or so, and so they had to go to hard-to-access places. And so I don't know when you're doing something on the BLM commercially, you know, there's some fine lines there.
BLM Dan?
Dan Westermeyer with the BLM Carson City District. I wouldn't say this is a commercial operation, especially if they end up getting, nonprofit status. Normally when someone is doing something like videography on public lands, depending on what it is, there's a fine category of whether or not they have to get a land use permit. We can always entertain getting a land use permit. That would not be an issue for that. This, I think, can be used on public land as well as federal land, so they could be talking about Forest Service, and possibly even private lands if they get private land ownership. So it's not, I wouldn't limit it just to BLM lands. But as far as getting a letter by tomorrow, I would say our managers would probably not be able to be around, being that it's Friday afternoon, late in the
But
afternoon.
you could give us a verbal commitment that letter would be obtainable.
I don't have authority to do that, but I would say that this is something that BLM would probably support, yes.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Cox?
We have been looking and asking for this kind of data, so I would say we would probably support it.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Elmore, quickly, just full disclosure, I've crashed more than my fair share of remote control vehicles. Is there funds available for maintenance, repair, replacement? I see $2,000 in insurance, so that's encouraging. I've never had insurance on a remote RC anything before.
Okay, I'm not sure.
On
That's
the
not
Bradley,
sure.
for the record,
Sorry.
you wouldn't be funding the aircraft. We would have ownership of it.
right, so that would come out. So it would be the $7,000 plus the $2,000.
Yeah, so
And I
what you're
guess
looking
my
at.
broader question is just: is there a monetary avenue for maintenance, replacement, repair?
Eric Spratly, for the record, that we had not had that in there. The reason we were asking for you to buy the aircraft in the first place was so that his aircraft didn't get destroyed in this process, so.
Right. I'm just curious if we don't necessarily fund the aircraft, but we fund the videographer, and something happens, then there's no more video being made, and
Yes.
our investment is.
We will.
So
Yeah, we will. I
Okay.
get, just real quickly, David Durst for the record, what you're seeing, that $2,000, that's the administrative cost. That's not the insurance. We do not have a line item in there for insurance for $2,000. So, but what I will say is, this kind of technology, it flies GPS, and so you can tell it to send to go to here, and it'll maintain. You don't fly it manual. You can say go to here, go to here. You can say maintain this altitude, fly over there. You can hit a button, say come back. Not to say that it doesn't.
Takeoffs are optional, landings are necessary.
That's right, right. So, but
Thank you.
yes, sir.
All right, do we have any more comments?
Just one last question.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so are you guys starting up a company, a business, with the commission's monetary support for something greater?
No, it's
Or-
okay. Sorry.
Are you doing this out of the kindness of your heart because of all the things that you said before to get us interested?
Eric Spratly, for the record, you're not starting up a new business with that. You have that on the record. As we stated, it's a hobby, recreational hobby. It has value, it adds value to everything you've heard here today. And we would like to get our foot in the door with this commission and continue to educate the public in future ventures. And we believe you're going to find value in it this year and going forward as you address trails and OHV issues.
All right. In the interest of time, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We appreciate it greatly. Okay, Mr. Lambert, step forth. Okay.
Gary Lambert, for the record, the founder of the Nevada Trail Stewards, as though you had not met me earlier.
This is a 5-minute presentation. Just so you know, and you've used up 30 seconds.
No, you've used
Get
15.
the bell?
Here we go. Let's move on. This is in regard to two mobile units to do trail maintenance and tools. And these are greatly needed products because, for instance, the folks at Hills Angels have got 23 years and I want to say 20,000 hours into servicing that Garrison Road. They haven't had any support. And at this point, there's need for a hard facing of a certain area of the trail. There is a great deal of need throughout the state, and the BLM has said it very well. The BLM will work with the Nevada Trail Stewards to develop protocols to perform trail condition assessment and schedule maintenance. Having a source of equipment for use by the volunteers to perform trail maintenance will protect resources and reduce erosion and sedimentation caused by unmaintained trails. If you have questions, call Leo Drum. Leo is our OHV advisor and was involved with this process since the beginning as a most bang for the buck process. The bang for the buck involves there's well over 500 people out there willing to do work, and the BLM is willing to have us train them, provide them best practices, safety training, tools and education, and to funnel that paperwork and logistical issues that are always more complicated than one would expect from the federal government. So I will open this to questions because I'm sure you're aware that I have a great deal of support and a great deal of volunteers. Do you have questions in means of saving time. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Elmore, in your listed budget, I see under the equipment section, trail support units is at an even 60 grand. Is that this portion of this is the third leg of your stool?
Yes, sir.
And that's listed underneath it, but it's not broken down.
It is not broken down as there was not an item to break it down on the spreadsheet. It is 2 trailers. We will use personal vehicles to tow those trailers. They will be highly logoed, and it will be very clear, as in all of these grant proposals, that the funding has been provided by the Nevada OHV Commission, as that's a requirement in our grant book, so there's not much need in worrying about that. The tools were broken down independently. I mean, I think that there's probably some administrative dollars in there to pay for those administrators, and no, I don't know who they are. We haven't ran a call for applications, and the board has never met on manning jobs, because to date, it's always all been volunteers and personal money.
So, Gary, on your budget, there's 26.9, let's call it, for specialized trail tools and trail rakes. That's not included within the 60 grand. There's another 13 grand, let's call it, for hand tools. So
I think you would see that the total budget is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I've asked you for 60, and it's my job to come up with the balance.
And I'm just trying to understand what we get for 60. What
You
hard
get-
goods, if we're buying equipment, we get for 60. 2 trailers, rakes.
2 trailers, rakes. I believe that there's an ATV rake in there. And I know that in one of the applications, there are 2 side-by-sides that are available to anyone to do trail work and would be available to other groups as the Friends of Nevada Wilderness or anyone else.
Okay.
They will not be something that any one person has dominion over. They're just available.
Okay, thank you.
Any more? And stick a fork in this, we're done. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, City of Caliente.
Yes, I'm present in Las Vegas.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't see you there. Also, can we get the folks from Orba ready to go as soon as we're finished here? Go ahead, sir. Name and
Okay, for the
rank,
record, my name is Joseph Laveri. I actually applied for the grant, and the city of Caliente is in support of this project. I'll give you a quick presentation, an overview of the track history. This piece of land was provided a place for OHVs to ride many years ago in the 80s. The land was donated to the city of Caliente for BLM off-highway use. In the early 90s, a group of motorsport enthusiasts tried to develop the track, and with lack of support, it kind of fell apart. The city's always been willing to let us use that track as a place to ride. In Caliente, it's one of the main hubs for the Silver State Trail System, and the track sits right in line on a piece of property that connects the whole trail together. What we could accomplish with these funds would be to keep this track operational for many years, bring the track back up to a safe spec for all OHV enthusiasts to enjoy. Also provide a beautiful, fun recreational trailhead for the Silver State Trail. If funding was available, we'd be able to provide a trailhead that would be as nice and functional as the other trailheads in the surrounding area. Most of these trailheads are all located out in the wilderness, though. This particular area would be right in the city of Caliente, which again is pretty much the main hub for the whole trail system. The benefits of the funding for this would be track will provide a place for all OHV enthusiasts to enjoy. It would greatly benefit the city of Caliente because with the building of this track, we could bring in people from all around the state of Nevada and surrounding states. the youth of the city of California and Southern Nevada and the state of Nevada would all benefit from this project, giving them a safe place to ride. I believe state parks would benefit from this. The businesses in the city of California and the Lincoln County area would benefit from this. Last year, the club I belong to, we threw 2 major races there. One brought in over 1,000 people to the city, and the other event brought in over 500 people to the community. Once the track, if funding becomes available, we'll promote the track and the Silver State Trail through all channels that are available to us. The overall goal with this project is to basically provide a safe place for people to ride, educate youth and all people that are involved with OHVs, provide a possible place for law enforcement to educate people on registering their vehicles, and maybe a channel to also get more people to have their vehicles registered. We'd provide a training area out there, which would not just benefit the people of California. We could use that for, again, the whole state of Nevada. Many people know about California and the track there. It's just getting to be where it's not a safe place to ride, and there's strictly volunteer help to get this thing and keep it in shape the way it is. So in closing, I'd like to say thank you to the OHV Commission for considering my application for funding, and I'd also hope that the Commission will see the importance and benefits of funding this project will bring to OHV enthusiasts and the community for many years to come. Do you have any questions?
All right, sir. That's my job. All right, any questions from the commission? Yes, go ahead, please. Commissioner Baker?
If we fund this project, do we give the money to the city and then the city lets us out for bid, or is there a nonprofit that would oversee it, or how does that work?
Well, again, for the record, I put in for this grant under my own name, and what we're doing down there is we're going to form, I already belong to a club, and pretty much the people that are all involved with volunteering out there are all belong in their own respective off-road racing clubs. What we're trying to do is we're going to form a local club where all the monies will be tied into that nonprofit local OHV club. And the city of California's role in this is they're willing to lease that said piece of land to myself so we can get this off the ground, and they will support everything we need for this project. They just do not have the funding to get it off the ground, and
I think
neither
you've
do
answered.
I.
I think you've answered the question, sir. There's another question,
Okay.
Mr. Richardson.
Jim Richardson, Commissioner. So you've already answered the question of there's no matching funds or anything like that coming from the city, anything like that. Is that correct?
we will match the funds with volunteer work.
Okay, so that's the
But as far as the
in-kind,
city,
that's the in-kind comment.
yes, sorry. Yes, as far as the city, the only matching funds they'll match with this would be use of the land, support of the land, and they said they are willing to let city workers come out there during work hours and work on it.
And this lease that's going to come from them for you to be able to do the work, is there a guarantee that after you make these improvements, if the grant is funded, that the city won't come and repo it and say, hey, great job, thanks for spending all the money, now we're going to take it?
The length of the lease.
Yeah, there is, the mayor wrote me a letter of support. Right now, we're writing a contract up is short notice on kind of getting everything together for us down there. What they have said, they made an agreement with me to lease me the land for 5 years, and we can go back and negotiate that for a longer term. They've always thought if a business came in there, they would sell the land. The attorney for the city of Caliente is writing up a contract where if a business did come in and buy that particular piece of land, he was going to put a sum of $50,000 to where it would buy the track out and we could move it to another piece of city property that's not being used.
You good with that, Mr. Richardson? I mean, all right, any other questions? I've got one question. Essentially, this is a motocross track. I know you say it's a trailhead, but if I remember correctly, this is adjacent to an industrial park, is that correct?
That's not correct, sir. It used to be industrial park. The current mayor, who was the grant administrator at the time, had rewrote the grant, and they've changed it to a multi-use area. There's no more ties to an industrial park out there. And if I needed to provide further information on that, I could definitely send a letter from the mayor of the city of Caliente stating that. But yes, they've changed it from industrial park to multi-use area.
All right, thanks,
And
sir.
for-
Are there any
for
other
the-
questions?
for-
You answered my question, sir. Are there any other questions? All right, we thank you for joining us, and we appreciate it, and we'll be considering your grant tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next up is Orba. Do you have any handouts, sir? Oh, okay, good. Let's show some. Do we see an Orba?
So then I can show you.
I was going to do a public comment tomorrow morning.
Well, because the rule
Okay, all right, no problem.
interprets it as two separate.
Okay, no problem. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Fred Wiley. I am the president and CEO of the Off-Road Business Association, better known by some as ORBA. To tell you a little bit about who we are an international trade association that represents companies that sell, service, and manufacture all types of off-road equipment. We're in our teen years. We're getting ready to celebrate our 14th birthday. We're very excited about the direction that we're headed and providing services for our industry members all over the world. What we are discovering, am I close enough? Yes, what we are discovering as we move forward in the land use business, that a lot of the components that are required under NEPA and travel management and rulings from different government agencies require an economic component. The other thing that we discovered in this economic component is that these agencies do not have the ability to provide the proper numbers that go with those reports. We found them somewhat short in many areas. The most recent was in the military base expansion in 29 Palms in California. The BLM records were only about 10% of what the actual contribution was to the state and local economy. So with that said, as we begin to move through the political process in the expansion of that base, we went to Congress and presented to Congress what we found through our research that was independent of the BLM, the state, and everyone else, that was verified by proper organizations that do only this kind of work, that there's a component that's missing. So they now recognize the fact that when we look at either congressional, state, or local legislation and work that works towards implementing any of these government programs, there is that component that has to be included. So the reason that we're reaching out in Nevada is that Nevada is a key state. This program is new here. We've been involved in New York, Colorado, California, and other states with similar processes. We are also a component of the Motorcycle Industry Council. They're one of our strong partners, and the Specialty Equipment Marketing Association, probably better known as SEMA. We think that here in Nevada, there is a terrific opportunity to help this commission and this state provide the proper information as to how all forms of motorized recreation contribute to the economy here. It is extremely important, especially when you look at the fact that we've heard from hunters, fishermen, and other people who use motorized recreation, but there are ranchers, farmers, all of those things that go on. We're not even sure that they're capturing all of the information that is available through the events that go on by the professional promoters, including SEMA. SEMA has an entire floor at their huge show in Las Vegas that is dedicated to nothing other than power sports. That impact to the Las Vegas area, just on that show alone, is worth millions. That is not being reported anywhere. So our position is that we're going to move forward with gathering data from all of those components so that we can prepare a statement that will stand up in the scrutiny of the agencies, whether they be federal or state, the legislators, federal and state, so that there is a key component that brings about all of the information necessary in completing these projects. We have found them to be successful in Colorado. We have found them to be successful in New York, New Hampshire, and we have been contacted by California State Parks to start the process there. So with that said, I believe most of the other information is in the packet that I provided. I wanted to maintain complete independence from all agencies, including the state, so I did not submit any letters from agencies supporting this position.
All righty, members of the commission. Oh, Mr. Richardson, what a surprise. Go ahead.
It's like the pot calling the kettle black. Okay. Jim Richardson, Commission. You're a lobbyist, as I understand how things are coming to me right now.
And that's not a bad thing.
I'm just asking. So we give you the amount of money, or the grant you the amount. Where's the value added, and who are you providing a service to? Is it to the commission, or to the road-going public, or the off-road going public? Where's that $40,000 figure? Where's it going?
Okay. I am not a registered lobbyist, but actually we do a lot of lobby work, or we call it education in our business. We hire professional lobbyists to do this work, but the end product will go to all of the things that you named. It will go to the state of Nevada. It will go to the federal government. It will go to the industry. It will go to the end user groups. Because when you're looking at, for example, the BLM's travel management plan, a key component of that plan is going to be the socioeconomic component. No one has covered that properly in the past. That is our goal in this process, is to cover that so that anyone can use that information to direct their comments towards that agency and make them complete. We also want to make sure that the data cannot be refuted. It's one of the reasons we don't do it. We don't let the manufacturers do it. We hire an independent group to do that work and develop that data.
Mr. Lambert?
Commissioner Lambert, for the record. First, I'd like to thank Fred and his organization for the work that they do in Nevada. We've benefited greatly by Jeff Knoll moving to Nevada and his promise to work more in Nevada and that those people in California. Of course, his board probably doesn't count. I could tell you that one of the best things that I've done for OHV in recent times was seeing all of the Senate Transportation and Assembly people and talking to them at length about this. I can also tell you that based on the memo that I had taken to the Senate, that it is now part of the resource management plan scenario for the Carson District Office, and that it will affect having new numbers as to what we may be able to argue to keep closed. So most everything he said I can back up through personal meetings. I don't know what he would do with it, but I'd run to the governor's office, the senator's office, the assemblyman's office, the congressman's office, and sit down and say, look, we count. That's what I'd do, but I don't know what he does. Thanks.
You're welcome. Just a quick comment, if I may. This document will be, as I said, prepared in conjunction with other states. We oftentimes see either a national number that sometimes doesn't drill down. It also doesn't move down to recreation, motorized recreation. It may just say recreation in general. This document is about motorized recreation. Thank you.
Save time.
Any further questions?
Jim Richardson, Commission
Go ahead,
again.
sir.
How many people will this amount get us? What's the employee? I mean, how many employees do you have? What are we, one people, two people? What are we talking?
For this particular project,
Yes, sir.
there'll be probably 4, maybe 5.
For how long?
It will be not full-time, part-time for a year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. McKay?
For the record, I've known Fred for 10, 12 years now. He's been president of California Nevada Snowmobile Association. He's done great work for both states, and actually tomorrow we're committed in the basin on a travel management plan. But I think a study such as this would be the fourth leg of the stool that we need for this state. And regardless of what happens tomorrow, I would like to see this project go forward. Personally, would like to become involved in it, both financially and time-wise.
Does that
I
mean
think
you're
it's
going
that
to fund it?
important. What's that?
You're going to fund it?
I'm not going to fund it.
Okay.
I'll fund part of it, but I'm not going to fund all of it.
We do need an economic impact study. I mean, I can tell you that from experience. I can tell you that from my experience in the legislature. When you're able to tell somebody, yes, $10 billion is spent on OHV activities. Yes, there's $14 million spent in a particular county. Yes, it's responsible for bringing the unemployment rate from 9% down to 7% in a particular county. Those are very, very powerful things. We've looked at doing this before. We've talked to some people about doing it, and to be honest with you, we'd love to do that. But the costs that we've been given are substantially less than what you've quoted us today. Is there a fee that's coming out that's going to your organization? Is there a better way to do a pass-through? Is there a way to cut the cost?
Well,
We're cheap.
I'm not familiar with everything that was in the way in which you approached the earlier.
Sure.
But I am using the same group. I kind of got the impression without seeing the documents that a good part of that may have been some volunteer time. We do this for a living. And what we have found out is, and I'm not meaning to be ugly or ornery, but when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And this has to be credible. And there's nothing against volunteers. We work with them on a daily basis. But frankly, when it comes to a credible document that you're going to move in this state's capital or anywhere else, it costs money. The Colorado document is well over $80,000. The New York document was $120,000. So to get a credible document, you've got to step up to the plate and do what's necessary.
So I guess you've answered my question. Is there any way to cut the price down? Any way to get us to a... And again, because you're talking, at $40,000, you're talking 10% of our total budget, and about 20% of the trail budget. So it is a substantial amount. A year from now, when we've got $1.3 million to spend, it's not that big of a deal. But now, at this point, it's a lot of money. So is there something that we can do to either bring the cost down or to start the project and get some preliminary numbers, that type of thing?
You may be looking at a longer-term project. We can spread the project out over other years, but you're not going to have a result right away. The numbers that I'm giving you is going to give you a quality result within a year. So from that standpoint, you can look at it there.
Mr. Lemmet?
This is Commissioner Lambert, and I had done a great deal of work on this topic earlier. I spent about 2 months doing just digging. And I'm sure that the engineering firm wasn't too anxious to give away all of my work product, but also I would include the fact that to do the real study, they quoted me $80,000 to $90,000. That the $10,000 was to freshen numbers so that we'd have a walking and talking piece. So he's either 3 times as much or a third as much? I'm not sure. I think he's offering me what I really wanted for a third of what I was quoted. So it's food for thought. Thank you for your time, Fred.
All right, do we have any other comments, questions?
Oh, I do. Where there'd be jobs in there.
It will help this state determine where the jobs are and what's needed. I think one of the key components is if you look at the fact that
So Colorado shows a rough number on jobs.
does show a rough number on job. Oh, you mean existing jobs? Yes, it will show existing jobs. It will also show a potential of future jobs.
I
If you-
appreciate that.
And real quickly, let me comment on the fact that Lincoln Electric made an acquisition here based on what they felt. That's a pretty good-sized corporation that belongs to our organization that has moved here based on those factors.
I appreciate that.
All right, we appreciate it. Are there any other comments? Will you be available tomorrow?
I will not be available. I'm headed to Lake Tahoe for that.
Can we get you available by phone? Because I can guarantee you tomorrow this will be a long, and you know, this will be a subject that we'll be going into, so.
If my phone works in Kings Beach, you
It
can reach-
works in Kingston.
Okay.
Would you do us a favor and make sure that
Do that.
Kathy has your number?
Thank you all very much.
Okay. All right, before we recess, we've got one final session of public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? It is a 2-minute stint. And we have a bell.
And we have a bell.
Kathy?
Members of the commission, I'm Juan Guzman, and Open Space Matter. I presented to you a project request earlier, and I have a budget that I would like to hand out to the commission. I'll be available tomorrow for questions too,
By
if
phone.
necessary.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't necessary to do that in public comment, but that's good. We'll be ready.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment?
Joseph Laveri in Las Vegas has a public comment, if I
Go
could,
ahead, sir.
please. I would just like to know if there is a way I could send these handouts. There's no one in Las Vegas, but would I be able to still send my handouts to the OHV Commission at their main office? Or is it kind of too late to even do that?
You received instructions as to, and the instructions and the rules. You were sent a copy, and in that copy, it asked that if you were in Las Vegas and you had handouts, that we requested that you mail them in earlier to Kathy. Your original handout has been sent to all of the commissioners, and they have it in their email. And I'm sure that if we run out of handouts tomorrow while we're discussing this, I'm sure people will be willing to share. So I don't know if it would do you any good at this point.
Okay, I appreciate it. I just must have misread that, so.
It's already in your email. Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, sir. All right, we are going to go into recess. Do you have public comment? Okay. We're going to go into recess, and we will reconvene tomorrow morning at the Plaza Hotel at 10 a.m. See you all there. Now, before we leave,
3 blocks out.
make sure you have your packages, hand them to Kathy. Please don't mix them up, otherwise it will make her nuts. Have a good night. Oh, any questions? Yeah, you'll get them back tomorrow. She needs to score them
tonight.
She needs to score them. We need to,
The scores might change tomorrow.
as they may, yeah. But we do need to have them scored so that we know what the scores are. Otherwise, we're going
Can't
to be
score
scoring them
them all.
tomorrow morning.
It's gotta be
well,
in
all right,
Bring them in scored.
let me ask you this. No, totals are going to be scored. Let me ask you this. You haven't worked on it. Can you have them ready by 9 o'clock tomorrow? Well, no, you'll get them back to rescore them, but we need to publish something. We need to publish a score.
I can have it scored by 9.
No, she takes all of the score. What's going to, gentlemen, please? All right. What's going to happen is the sheets are all added up, and then there's a score sheet that goes to the total for each project. Gentlemen, could I ask you to either check it outside or be quiet? We'll get a total for each project. Then you get these back, and if you want to reconsider your score or do something with it, you can. But we have to be able to publish a score.
I
Publish it tomorrow. You didn't score them.
All right, well, what I'm asking you is, can you do your scoring by 9 o'clock tomorrow? Okay, hold on a second. Okay, well, then what we're going to go, after talking to council, we're going to go ahead, if you want to hang on to them, and we'll try and score them tomorrow as we go through them.
I would like to talk about them all and then.
Well, we will, but yeah. I mean, the score isn't the be-all and end-all. The score is just to give people an idea of where they stand. And when we start to discuss them, obviously we would discuss, instead of discussing 21 in full thing, we'd discuss the highly scored ones first, and then sort of work down. So,
9 o'clock.
okay, so we will see you all at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thanks. You just said such a big job.
Oh, dang jacket. Well, yeah, the phone's been dropped one too many times.
Hello? Yes.
Actually, I would very much like to.
Good, sir. How you doing? I'm in the middle of a. I'm in the middle. Well, I'm not. I'm just breaking up from a meeting with the OHV Commission. I just wanted to chat with you real quick. Did you read the thing on? Did you read the thing from Ralston about what the Republican Party is trying to do, or what the state party is trying to do with putting a committee together to decide who they're going to support before the primary?
Okay, so just make sure that the check clears. It's been mailed.
The check already cleared. Hey, I'll double check it.
Double check, and then I'll send you back.
Yeah, got half a second. I want to make sure that if I do work tonight to try to give you a number, you're just looking for kind of what I spent last year. Is that what you're asking for exactly?
No, when you're asking for 60 grand for equipment for mobile trail units, I just.
You want to break out of that? Because at one point you asked what I spent last year too.
No. I'm looking for, when you asked for, the first one I think was 47 to 50, what,
You'd just like some line items on what those items are.
where does
Yeah,
that, where does it break down and what do we
I
get?
wish we'd put that in our form when we were on the grant committee, is all I could say. If I have any chance to get it done for you, I will. I mean, it's,
Just some clarification as to what specifically.
I totally understand what you're asking for now. I started to do it on that big spreadsheet, and then I downloaded the whole forms, did it. That spreadsheet wasn't up yet.
Yeah, and you asked for a total of 160, what the 167, 250, but the total grant request is for 370. No,
That's because the grant committee built our form. That's not my, I mean, that's our doing.
I don't know.
I'll do what I
I'm in
can.
the middle of something else going on right now, but if you want to do it for Monday, I'll make sure that the vinyl gets it. All right, man. So give me a call Monday morning. Yeah. Look it up. See you. Thanks, man. Hello? Hey, would it be possible if you could call on Monday or later on something? Good enough, sir. Thank you.
I don't know.
Well, I had. We've actually.